My overall impression is that he is or was one of the most impressive leaders I have met, Chinese or otherwise. A really extraordinary individual. He worked hard. He was brilliant. He had a vision of where he felt China needed to go. He was a very, very tough taskmaster on his subordinates. I knew a number of his subordinates, and one of the things they all commented on was how much of a privilege it was to work for him and how terrified they were when he was angry. He had high standards. And I thought he was a good politician also. He knew how far he could push, and when he had to kind of, if he had the final say, I think a lot more would have gotten done. But he understood how to work, especially with Jiang Zemin. And I think he had a major impact on China. Didn't get everything he wanted. Some of the things he tried subsequently were rolled back after he stepped down. But he was a very impressive gentleman. I had the privilege of meeting with him on various occasions. I wasn't a personal friend by any means, but had the privilege of talking with him both privately and publicly, and I was always very impressed. We sat down on a couch and just started chatting. And he asked me in the course of that, what would it require for the United States to really trust China? Because his sense was we had gotten to the point where we could deal with each other, we could get a lot done, but there was really not fundamental trust in intentions. And I thought from there, and I said candidly, I grew up in the Cold War in the United States. I said, my sense is Americans will never fully trust a Communist Party leadership. Mm-hmm. And I said quite candidly to him, remember, this is 1999 or just after the turn of the year to 2000. I said, but, in my view, the Chinese Communist Party has changed so much that you could legitimately call it the Chinese Social Democratic Labor Party, mm-hmm. or some such, another name, mm-hmm. And still be true to what you're trying to do and what the party is doing. So I think if you did that, it would help a great deal in removing trust between the U.S. and China. And he looked at me, he said, interesting idea. He said, of course, we can never do that because, 中国共产党 is our brand, and we cannot change our brand. And that's, that's the kind of conversation you really did not have with premiers in China. I mean, but it's the kind of thing that you could have with Premier Zhu. I think the premier felt that over time, China could get to almost all of that. But once he left office, and especially I think after about 2005, 2006, the politics changed in China sufficiently to make parts of that agreement, in reality, unattainable. The Chinese never rejected them, they just didn't carry them out. Some of those were quite significant parts. So I think then it began to unravel. My own feeling is if someone like Zhu Rongji, if a comparable talent had stayed in place, those changes were attainable. Tough. But when you think of the array of changes that had occurred in China from Mao Zedong's death until Zhu Rongji stepped down as premier, over the course of that period of decades, they were phenomenal. And these other things were an extension of those to continue to be able to have China integrate more with the global system, benefit from it, and impact on it. Right? And so some of it was implemented, some was not. And I don't think, you can always say the criticism wasn't fair because at the end of the day, some of these things did not happen. Right? But if you had somewhat different leadership, my feeling is they probably would have happened. So I don't think that it was overreach. It was ambitious, but also I think necessary. I think China would be better off today if they were all implemented, frankly. But